Donald Trump is stroking out again, raising new questions about his neuropsychiatric state, responding to some of the worst polling of his political career by insisting that there are secret, unseen polls which show that he is more popular than ever. Do all of the public polls show that the country doesn't like this guy? Fear not. There are shadowy, secret, private polls never to be released, which prove that he's really, really popular. An explanation that reads sort of like a panicked man desperately constructing an alternate reality where every single real world failure is a victory in this imaginary world. Now, I don't know that I need to do a disclaimer, but I'll do it anyway. It's not clear that Trump literally suffered a stroke while writing this, and it's tough to diagnose neurological or psychiatric conditions from a Truth Social post. But what we see is that Trump's behavior lends itself to seeing an inability to process information. And that is very concerning. Here is Donald Trump's Truth Social post. Okay, my real polling numbers, not those made up by the fake news media, are the best they have ever been. And why wouldn't they be? With the biggest tax cuts and unemployment and employment numbers ever, the biggest outside investment in America in world history, a totally secure border, a giant victory in Venezuela, the denuclearization of Iran, unparalleled respect and success throughout the world, and much more. Don't believe the radical left's fake poll numbers. They are crooked and corrupt. Just like the country destroying Democrats are crooked and corrupt. Vote Republican for greatness in America. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So what's the message here? The message is, if a number looks bad for me, don't believe it, because the Democrats did it, or it's fake news media, or whatever. That's it. Now, what are the real polling numbers? Well, he gives us no pollster, no sample, no methodology, no dates, no results. He just goes, the secret numbers exist and they're really good. Now, as I talked about yesterday with Rick Wilson, the other thing that Trump will sometimes do, although he didn't do it this time, is he'll go 98% approval among MAGA Republicans. It's like if I go, I have 98% approval among people who love this show. It's like, yeah, well, what about the people who don't? They're out there too. 98% approval among MAGA Republicans doesn't really tell you very much, but the actual numbers are a disaster. Reuters Ipsos poll, 35% approval. Insane. Democrats lead by 7 on the generic congressional ballot. For the first time in nearly a decade of Reuters Ipsos doing this poll, Democrats now have an advantage over Republicans on management of the economy. Reuters, one Reuters poll has Trump at 36% approval. That's insanely low. And so Trump's response is not, well, I looked at the would Trump ever do this? I looked at the methodology of the Reuters poll and I found that the way they identified likely voters, and of course not. Trump goes, I have secret hidden polls. The whole system is crooked, and numbers that exist in my imagination alone, or maybe in some presentation created by Natalie Harp, I don't know, to try to keep Trump emotionally regulated. Those are really good numbers. It is a self-sealing belief system. Excuse me just one second. If you're a regular viewer and somehow still haven't subscribed, maybe today's the day. We're getting really close to 4 million subscribers. I would love for you to be one of the 4 million. Back to the clip. Any information flattering Trump is real because it flatters Trump. Any information contradicting what he says is fake because it contradicts him. That's it. And the absence of evidence, just like for conspiracy theorists, the absence of evidence becomes proof that there are these corrupt forces concealing how popular and successful Trump really is. And then comes the delusional list. What was on there? Biggest tax cuts, biggest investments in world history, secure border, giant victory, more respected than ever. Everything is absolute and historic, and it is all made up, just completely made up. Now, have border crossings fallen? Border crossings have ebbed and flowed, and there are points at which they have been lower for a bunch of different reasons. Yes, that's true. Are there companies and foreign governments that have said, we would be open to investing over the next 10 years if the right projects are? Yeah, that's happened. But did Trump bring $17 trillion home in the belly of Air Force One from the Middle East? Of course not. Announced investments are not completed investments, and all of this other stuff that I've talked about a million times. So I think the most revealing phrase here is, why wouldn't they be? Why wouldn't his polls be at record highs? And Trump starts with the conclusion, my approval must be high because I regularly say this is the best presidency that there has ever been. Therefore, any polling that says something different can't be accurate. It is psychologically disturbing, but this is a very dangerous governance platform. If you have a president who can't absorb unfavorable information, you can't correct failing policies. If voters hate the war and the polls are fake, because you want them to believe, you want to believe that they actually love the war, then you're not going to consider reality. If families say we can't afford food, but you go, oh, the economy's secretly perfect, then you're not going to be able to deal with what people are actually experiencing. If Republicans are headed towards this apparent midterm disaster, advisors need to show Trump that that's what's going on, or he will just insist everything is awesome. This is how authoritarian leaders get trapped in information bubbles. We've seen it over the last 150 years. Everyone around them starts to be trained. And Natalie Harp has been trained on this. If you deliver bad news, you get punished. The messenger gets punished. And if you give them lies that they like, you get a promotion, you get access to Trump, you become his best friend. And so the danger here is the most powerful person arguably in the world sees reality as an insult to him. Collapsed polling, no economic advantage, unpopular war, party in danger. And he goes, you should see the secret polls I have. They are absolutely phenomenal. The only upside for us who are more concerned with reality than nonsense is that fake polls won't change what voters actually do in November. And this is why we've got a phone bank. We've got to activate. We've got to vote. We need to make sure that we are doing what needs to be done to make the real polls be reflected in November's ballots rather than these imaginary fake polls. Thanks for watching. Check out this other video. And if you like our content, make sure to subscribe so YouTube puts our videos in your feed, and subscribe to the podcast on Spotify and Apple.